Hello everybody, welcome to the first video in the In God's Country tutorial series, and you can probably look at the time on my computer and you can tell that it is really incredibly late, and it's 3:20 in the morning and I am recording this, but I'm going to do this really quickly before I go to bed and get it off the table, get this tutorial, this first part over with. So we're going to really quickly try to go through the Amplitube settings for In God's Country. Just a quick note before we jump into this. I want to let you guys know that I was trying really hard to find the original recording that I had made of In God's Country, which was about a year ago exactly, and I couldn't find it. So I don't have the settings that I used to record the cover, but I did find this preset that I had saved in Amplitube, and this was made before I recorded. And when I went to record, I may have tweaked some settings, like amp settings or delay settings or whatever. So I want to just let you guys know that these settings are close, but they may not be perfect. And you guys can feel free to mess with these settings and tweak them and try them out yourself and see what you think about it. But I'm just going to get these out there to you because these are still pretty close. So first thing off the bat, in Amplitube, I'm using an AC30 sim. And the model in Amplitube is British Copper 30 TB. TB standing for top boost. In case you don't know what that means, it's top boost. And here's a quick rundown of all the settings. The bass is at a 2.6 value. You can look down here for that. And I may upload this to the IK multimedia site if I get some time to mess with this, because I would like to tweak this a little bit further before I do upload it and get it a little bit tighter sounding. But I do think this is close. But right back into this. The treble is at 5.4, higher than the bass. A key thing to just keep in mind if you're trying to replicate the edge sound and you have an AC30, try to keep the bass pretty low and the treble somewhere around I kept mine here around midway. And on my real AC30, on my actual Vox AC30, I try to keep the treble around midway and maybe a little bit higher than midway. So that's basically what I'm going for here. I like to keep, with U2 songs, it's more of a brighter, chimier sound. So to get that chime, you need a bright, kind of like a bright, slightly overdriven sound. So volume, the volume panel on the amp, the normal channel is at 7.3. It's a little bit louder in Amplitube on the normal channel than it is on the Brilliant channel. The Brilliant channel is at 6.3, so just a little bit quieter. Quick note, all of the drive in this setting, in this preset, is coming straight from the amp. It's all coming from the amp. There isn't an overdrive pedal being used. I just want to point that out. There's no tremolo or vibrato. The tone knob is at 0. So tone, I haven't changed the tone. It's unaffected. I guess you could just say whatever the bass tone is. On your real amp, if you guys have like an AC30 or even if it's just any old amp, you may need to tweak your tone knob until it sounds about right to your ears. Basically, the tone knob is just going to affect how bright or dark the amp is going to sound, or how dark or bright the output's going to be. So I wouldn't even really worry about this setting. Just tweak that to your ears at home. The cab is a matched cab here in Amplitube. It's a 2x12 gray British vintage cabinet. It's just a 2x12 cabinet that's matched to the amp head in Amplitube, to this amp head. Mic'd with a Shure SM57 simulation. And I put it just off center from the speaker cone. And over here on the right side over here, you can see just how far I pulled the mic off the cone. So it's slightly off center and a little bit back. I just felt like this is what sounded best to my ears. So feel free to tweak that if you want to. I think it sounds pretty good as it is. Rack delay. Okay. I think that this is always when it comes to U2 songs, delay is always the most important effect to talk about. And with this one, this is a really tricky song to get the delay kind of right, because if you listen to the album version of In God's Country, the delay is really rich sounding, I think, or the guitars are really rich sounding. Give me a second here. I'm going to take a drink. But the delay on this track is very, very important. It's very important to get it right for this song especially. Keynote, I have two rack delays used here, but one of them is on and one of them is turned off. Now I can't remember exactly why two rack delays are in this preset and why one is turned on and one's turned off, but the general assumption that I am going to make is that I was playing around with delay settings and trying to tweak it and use two delays and different settings. And finally, I think I just got one that sounded right, and that's the one that's on the top here. Now, the one on the top, the first delay right here, is the one that's on. The second one is off, and both of them have very similar delay times. So quick note before we jump into any of these settings. In God's Country, or the version that I am playing along to in my cover, is around 127 beats per minute. Somewhere around there. That'll get you there. 127 beats per minute, a dotted 8 delay, is going to be about 354 milliseconds. Now, this is a cool little site where you can calculate delay times. You can plug in the beats per minute, like right over here, click calculate, and it will spit out every single delay time for every note value that you could possibly need. So the main thing to focus on, it's a typical the edge delay time. Dotted eighth note delay, 354 milliseconds. That should get you there. That's at 127 beats per minute. So if you have the ability to choose a delay type, like a note value for your delay, and type it and tap it in, you would just use a dotted eighth delay and tap along to the beats of the song. For this is a very important thing about this delay. Now, I used a left-right delay, and what that means is the delay in the audio is going from left to right. So the delay is basically moving in your earphones from the left side to the right side to the left side to the right side. You get the idea. That makes this delay sound a little bit bigger than it really is. So if I had used any of these other delay types, stereo, mono, left, center, right, or double, they wouldn't quite sound as rich as this. And I think that, I'm going to be honest, these rack delays in Amplitube are amazing. They sound amazing. The delays in Amplitube sound amazing in general. But for Joshua Tree era U2 stuff, I like to use rack delays. You can see my Where the Streets Have No Name sound test that I uploaded, I think it was back in September, and I used a couple of rack delays for Streets, and it gets you there. It just about gets you there. These rack delays are great for that kind of U2 stuff. So that's just a general overview. On the second delay, I typed in 360 milliseconds, so somewhere thereabouts, 354, 360 milliseconds will just about be the delay time that you need. So talking about feedback, repeats here. How many repeats do I need for In God's Country for it to sound accurate? Well, for me, what I felt was best in this software was about 27% down here. And that would probably be, if I had to guess, I think it's about 3 to 4 repeats, maybe 3, just about hovering on 4 repeats. So somewhere around 3 to 4 would get you there. If you can enter in a percent value, 27% is about good enough. That's pretty efficient. I'm not going to worry too much about filter on this. Filter just means what is the frequency that the delay is going to repeat at, and that's this frequency down here. It's a little bit above flat. So whatever the flat frequency is for these delays, it's just a little bit, I tweaked it just a little bit above. But generally that's talking about how bright or how dark your repeats are going to sound. I wouldn't worry about it, to be honest. Mix, I have it set to about 48%. So if you're thinking about it, you really need a lot of your delay to sound very full in the song. So it's a good idea to have a lot of the delay in your signal. So if you're trying to figure out what volume should my delay be at, it should be somewhat high. Especially if you don't have the advantage that I had in using a left and right delay. That really made this sound very accurate, I think. I'm not saying that it is the most accurate guitar sound to In God's Country, but it makes it sound very close, that left-right panning delay. So that's key to this, but if you don't have that option, you may need to use a couple extra repeats than what I used, and you may need to use a little bit more delay in your signal, but that's just something that you may need to tweak at home. And don't be afraid to tweak things ever. Like, even if it's going to sound way off, it's better to at least tweak some knobs and get an idea of what the pedal is doing, what the effect is doing, and then see how close you can get from there. And just keep tweaking knobs until you get pretty close. You can get there pretty fast if you mess around with some things. That's really all the effects that were being used in this cover. See, there's nothing in that rack B. I did have a compressor, but it's not on. I can turn it on. I can turn it off. But the compressor wasn't really used, I don't think. But that was just something that I was playing with. The comp level is 57.0. If you want to copy this or if you want to use this is the settings. And the level is a little bit below 0 decibels. It's negative 0.23 decibels. And that's just a compressor setting that I was just playing with. I don't even remember what I was doing when I was making this preset. It's been, like I said, it's been a year. So a lot of this isn't really coming back to my mind, really, even now. I don't really know what else to go over with you guys. I think that this is really all that you need. The next video in the series is going to be coming up really soon. I hope I can get right on it. And the next video in the series will kick off teaching you guys how to play this song. I'm going to try to break it down, make it really easy. This isn't a really difficult song, to be honest. It will probably be about a 2-part series because there's not a whole lot to teach, to be honest. So it'll be about a 2-part how to play video section thing. That's really all that I have. If you have any questions, shoot them my way, and I can try to answer as best as I can. Again, I'm going to try to see about putting this on the IK Multimedia site. I think it's the preset exchange, and I've shared a couple of presets there already. I think I've shared Ultraviolet and Where the Streets Have No Name. So you can go to IK Multimedia and you can find that there if you have Amplitube, and you can download this. That's all that I have time for tonight. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in part 2.